Yo, coming in with the fresh type of rhymes. Coming around sitting here, no crimes. I'm just biding my time, no biting, but I'm rhyming and I'm doing this thing you wanna vibe in. I'm coming back with the beat. Keep it like this, yo, it's spiky like cleats, like Chucky's hair in Nickelodeon. Ever watch Double Dare? Wanna come around? Yo, I didn't even notice Claire was over there. I'm playing like a clarinet. I'm sitting here, yo, I'm just gonna be like Marinette. You know what's going on, but I'm ripping the flow and I'm ripping the thong and I know what I'm doing. I'm getting the thing and I'm getting the people, I'm getting them on. Yes, that is the flow that I spit for days. I don't blaze, but I just sip haze from this way that I'm sitting in here. But the beatbox coming around, it don't care. Yo, he's coming back with it. I just keep it going. I keep flowing. Yo, I hope it don't be snowing when I drive home in my Subaru. I'm coming back with this thing. I think I'm kind of cool. I'm rapping like a real champion. Yo, gambling my flows like I'm really not taking no more Ambien. I don't even need it for my prescription. You want to see what's going on inside of this description? That's the beat kick in. That's the beatbox king. When you come around, yo, these cleats got sings. I don't know what that means, but I'm a parakeet. I'm sitting here, I'm doing this, I'm tearing up the beat. Yo, that was just the way that I flow and the way that I rhyme and the way that it shows and the way that it proves to be here. Grind mode, yes, the cipher is right here. It's complete in the brain that is going on over there. It's insane. Aquarius, yo, what's going on? It's not nefarious. The people that are coming all around right now, yo. We're cheesing every single night right now, yo. I'm wearing the crown, I'm holding it down, I'm doing the thing, I'm taking the gown, I'm really getting her now. What's up with this way that I flow? Gonna take it off the top, yo. I play like Nintendo. I spit these flows, I just come around like what's going on. I'm the spit mic motherfucker that don't even care about it, but I'm flowing all these songs strong. But I'm done with this beat so that we can start the show off. Yo, that was some heat.
Yeah, SomeBuddies Podcast episode 25. We in the building. We got my man Ethyric. We got my man Snair. Our usual suspects. My man Mr. Baxter, J Mac in the building. We got my man Justin, Mr. Recovery Conscious Mind. I ain't even gonna lie to you. We had this whole switch up prior. Justin was in the host seat. He was gonna host because I never met Ethyric or Snair. And then we were sitting there. It was a clusterfuck. And then I realized, oh shit, these are super dope guests. And there's a lot of fucking content that we're gonna get. And it was like a train wreck for a little bit. So we called the timeout. We called the timeout and we ran it from the top. That has nothing to do with Justin. You're doing a great job. I just realized that I like to drive. And it was almost like the same as like when I drive my own car, I'm good. But when I get in the passenger seat, I get car sick.
Yes.
And I just realized that on this podcast, I get car sick when I'm not driving, dude. It was awful. But that was dope. We have some super dope guests. We have a musician. We have a lyricist, a poet. We have an astrologist. We have two raw vegans. We have a man in long-term recovery. We have a man who's in a process of self-development, which is another journey. We're talking about this podcast is a podcast for anybody that's in a process of change, trying to change themselves, develop themselves, trying to break through the narrative, the mental barriers, that voice that talks to you in your own voice that tells you that you can't do shit or that you won't be able to, fear-driven, fear-controlled. Like, we're here to tell you that narrative is a lie and it can be changed. And this podcast is about people that are in that process of change. So prior to the restart, we were getting into some astrology stuff and all this. But I like to get some context with the guests first. So I'm going to start with you, Ethyric. A little bit about your journey, your process, how you got into a recovery or how long you've been in recovery. And then that whole development. And then I want to touch base with you as well.
All right. Yeah, so I've been in recovery for about 6 years now. Dope. And I started using at age 14, got into my first rehab at age 20, and just was in 7 rehabs, 4 psych wards, and multiple detoxes, and it just wasn't working. And, I finally got sober, so hallelujah,
Oh, hallelujah. That's good. That's huge. 6 years. So what has this journey been like for you, though, the development over the last, 6 years? What has been, the barriers to entry, the mental barriers? What has been has it just been you hit the ground running and all this? Did you find yourself, are you relying on 12-step fellowship? Are you relying on, spirituality? I know you talk about the astrology. That's a main component. What is part of your foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely hit the ground running because something happened at that last rehab where this lady at a psych ward was just like, yo, you don't have to keep messing up. And it was that moment that was it wasn't profound information, but it was just that right time. It was like, oh shit, like it just, I don't have to stop. I don't have to keep messing up. So I just started taking everything super seriously and just like started praying every night, reading the big book and going to meetings and just studying astrology, studying everything I could, personal development, and just went all in. But it's just funny because thinking back to how I felt in that first year, I just felt like absolute shit, you know? I had no self-esteem, was totally gone. I walked into a room, I couldn't talk to anybody. I just hated myself. I didn't even know why, you know, because I hated myself for hating myself, because I was like, I had a good upbringing. Like I'm an American. Like I have food. Why do I feel so much pain? You know, why do I hate myself? So I don't know, you know? So, but I was putting in the effort. I was putting in the work, you know?
Yeah. Was it a spiritual journey for you right off the rip, since you had the context of astrology, which is obviously spiritual in nature? Like when you read the big book, did you just feel this is a spiritual path I'm going to be on? Because for a lot of people, they feel like it's like way down the road that you get to the spirituality. You have to be in the 11th step. You have to be in the 12th step, which I think is a misteaching. I think that people don't realize that we're spiritual in nature, all of us. It's literally our makeup. So you don't have to do anything. Everybody thinks you have to like do work and climb some fucking mountain that doesn't exist. You actually just need to start to uncover who you are, which, you know, and obviously that's how you and I connected, and we become good friends based on the spiritual path and vibrating kind of on the same vibration. And what did that look like for you?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because when I come in, I'm like, yeah, I was really working hard. And now it's like, if I told you, what do I do now? It's like, oh, I try to like work not as hard as possible. Like that's my new strategy, is like, let go, get out of the way, allow the light to flow through and just illuminate.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And that's like, it's funny because that's how Justin sounds. And this is because, and I never go again. I believe in those philosophies. I believe in that, but work is required to get us to that point. Right. Yeah. And so like when we say that, like I'm just trying to be more in a flow state. Everything that you have is already inside of you. Just getting more, it's like, there is a lot of work that's required from us in the beginning to get access to that stuff that is within us, right? There's a lot of shit that is the barriers to get in touch with the spirit within us. I talk about getting into a flow state, intuitive, right? Being able to be spiritually led, not head led, which is where I like to find myself, like where when I know I'm in a good place, that's where I'm at. I call it, I always say God calls, I answer, and I'm led. My life leads me like that. I don't even ask questions when I'm being intuitively led, because I just know. And even though it doesn't make sense logically to the people around me, I feel it internally that it's what I'm supposed to be doing with who I'm supposed to be doing it with and all that. When I'm in my head, I'm second guessing everything, right? So when I started this process, like you said, fear driven and all that, and like my story, I was telling you this earlier, was like ignorance, because I didn't understand how and why I suffered, in arrogance because I thought that I had the solution. So once I learned how and why I suffered, I learned that I suffered from a disease essentially of the mind, right? And through the mind, it controlled me with narratives, false narratives that I created that I lived true to, right? So I lived this fucked reality that was self-inflicted, and I had no exit because I was the one that held the key. And the thought impulses that were in, that they were embedded from whatever childhood, from all my fuck ups, guilt and shame and all that shit, I suffered the repercussions of it emotionally, whether it was real or not, right? Because I didn't know how to go through it or sort through it. And I didn't have the capabilities on my own. So therefore, I internally suffered and externally suffered, because my internal suffering created an external world that I accepted, because I had so little fucking faith for the future, or like my belief system was so limited in what I could have and attain, and so fear just fucking controlled everything in my life. And I had to learn and understand a lot of shit so I could apply a lot of things and take a lot of action against my will to get me to a place where I could start to sort through that clutter with people, to get some clarity, to get intuitively in touch, like to be in that state where you're trying to do minimal, where you're trying to just be, you know, there's a lot of fucking...
I agree with you, Chris, but at the same note, that's I don't think that we were taught completely properly. My assessment of it today is we brought some clients to Deep Breathworks today. There's clients who got like 30, 60 days who are just letting go. I'm telling you, I learned for years not to let go. I learned the opposite. Like, you know what I mean? Control, make shit happen, like do it. And that's just the way I was taught. It's the way you were taught. It's the way most of us are taught. But I feel like the quicker we can get people to the letting go process of like letting go, you know, there's a specific client I'm thinking about who's letting go, dude. And he's getting like serious rewards from it.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
He's been given permission to let go. But it's like we don't always teach that. I agree with you. I just think that it's not always like self-improvement. They say that self-improvement is like the first step towards the spiritual path. It's no surprise to me that you guys met in a self-development workshop. You know what I mean? Because I took that route too. And for a lot of people, it's a route to yourself, really. You know what I mean? It's the first. And obviously we worked steps and did other stuff too, as you know, you probably did too. But for me, even the self-help realm helped me to go deeper than the steps.
So let's talk about the self-help. Like, so you guys met in a self-help development group, and so there was obviously a journey that led you to seeking something that led you into wanting to go down you want to tap on?
Yeah. So for me, it was kind of interesting how I got into that. I was dating a girl at the time, and she had a few friends that were involved in this group, and it was like kind of a weird thing to think about now, but it was more secretive, kind of, you know, where basically you just trust someone to go to one of these meetings and see what it's all about. And that's mostly what they tell you, you know, just trust me, come to this, it'll be good for you. So I went, you know, just with really no expectations, and like I said, immediately met Nick, and we just clicked right away. And then we both were involved with it for quite a while. You know, and I remember in the beginning I kept thinking, like, why did I end up here? Why am I doing this? How did I get into this? You know, I was really interested in personal development, but the thing that we were specifically doing was just interesting. You know, it's not the normal thing.
What was it, if you don't mind me asking? I'm curious here.
Yeah, so it's called Sterling, and it's like an institute of relationship is the idea behind it. And basically, you know, you learn how to, one of the big things is like be a man in today's world, and then how to treat people in all your relationships in your life, whether that's your parents, your mother, you know, your girlfriend, your wife, your friends. So it was a really interesting thing, and a really powerful, you know, course that I'm really thankful I did, you know. But the biggest thing for, I think, how I ended up there was to meet Nick. You know, that was the purpose of the path, you know.
Isn't that the coolest part of our journey, when we just open up and we allow the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, just like strategically place people in our lives that are supposed to be there, and it's never, we could never fully understand it in the moment, right? It's always in hindsight that you can look back and see like meticulous timing in all these different events that will occur that brought people that were so detrimental towards where you were going and where you're heading, right? Like J-Mac's one of those people for me in the beginning. We met because I met him 16 years ago, deviating from a past when I was in a halfway house when I was supposed to be somewhere else. And he happened to be in a different halfway house, deviating on past. We were both in the basketball gym at the YMCA because halfway houses give you free passes to the YMCA. Wow. So we both were the only two people in the gym.
That's crazy.
And we were like mean mugging, like, what's up? What's up? What's your name? What's your name? I'm Chris. I'm Jay. Where are you? I'm in a halfway house, Eastern Middlesex. Oh, I'm at East Boston Rehab. Oh, word. What do you do? I'm a barber and a graffiti writer. I was like, oh, cool. I'm a dancer, hip hop dancer. And it was like Step Brothers immediately. It was like, did we just become best friends? Do you want to go do kung fu in the basement? For real. Fucking, what are the odds that a fucking graffiti, the four elements of hip hop, and we were two of them in the gym right there at that current moment.
And the cool thing, like you're saying, like that, you're like, oh, that was the path right there. Is the minute that he said that he was into dancing, most people, like, I didn't really tell most people that I was a graffiti artist. I mean, it's obviously more of a secretive thing, at least that point. Now I'm at a point in life where I am who I am, you know. It's been a long time. But the friendship at that moment had no idea that it would turn into what it's turned into, but also to be two addicts that are in recovery with a passion, you know. And it was so detrimental to my recovery then. And then I seen Chris's journey with trying to go back to dancing. And that's why I was asking you before, you know, what did it look like with your creative process? Because at that time, you know, we were in our mid-20s then, you know, and up until that point in my life, I had only really done shit on the street. I never been into galleries or done like shows and stuff like that. And it was really cool to see someone who also had a passion and didn't know what it looked like to chase that. And we basically were each other's like fucking hype man. Do you know what I mean? I was with him when he first went back to funk, and that's I brought up before we started recording, because you know there's fear based in that, just like there was probably fear based in trying to record music. You think you suck. You think those lyrics could be better. You think your voice is off. You think you could come up with a different routine. I always thought I could do a different fucking painting than I did, or, you know, you suck. You need drugs to do that. It's the biggest lie I ever told myself, is that I needed drugs to be more creative. I've always done the best shit while I've been in recovery, you know, so it's like, I love talking about this type of shit.
So let's talk about that, like, because you guys obviously, you met, and then you have that connection, right, and you guys do music, and you're both creatives and stuff like that, and I don't know how old you are or how old you are, but I know for me, like, something happened to me internally where it was like, God called for me, like, I always call it the universe, but just to make people comfortable with it, because I don't want to box them in, but I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. And so I feel like God guides me. He gives me intuitive. Like it's like I know it to be true, right? It's the same way I know when I walk into a room without anybody saying anything, like something's wrong, right? Or if someone's upset with me, or I know like when I'm in a job too long, in a relationship for too long, or I just know intuitively, like, this is done. Whether my head's like, no, it's not, we're good, you know, like
when I was sitting in that chair.
Yeah, like intuitively, I was like, we need to restart this podcast because these guests are dope.
And it's tough to do that seat. It's tough to work that seat.
So, like, you're now, how long you been how long you guys been making music together? Have you always wanted to do music? Is this something that, like, have you always been, a writer or a rapper? Like, is that something that you've always done? Did you just start getting into it, like, the last 5 years, 3-4 years, whatever? Like,
I was humming every single day, first grade, humming the songs, the tunes that were coming into me, and I was told, stop that.
Yeah.
So that was the initial, no, do not express yourself in this institution. You know, and it's like, it's funny. It is funny, but when you're a little kid, that shapes your entire inner self, these kind of things. And that's what we're all waking up from. We're waking up from lies and programming and control. Yeah. And once we realize, like, wait a second, I'm on a spinning rock and there's just a bunch of people, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares what art I make? Who cares if anyone watches this podcast? Who cares if everyone watches this podcast? Who cares if it's not successful at all? Who cares if it's super successful? And once you really start to embody that, that's what really started to free me.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah. So I just want to say that was.
Oh yeah.
No, that is freedom. I agree with that. That is the goal for all. I know that's like what Justin's goal. That's what I think. That's most. Be authentically yourself.
Absolutely.
And like fearlessly, and you got to allow yourself permission to feel stupid, right? Because that's the thing. We don't give ourselves permission to just feel. Because that's the, like with him, when I know when he loves dancing, but then when music comes on, I see him in his mind. Like we were at a wedding. I could see his conversation that he had in his head, like. And he had to like convince himself, instead of like, he wanted to just hop up on the table and do a fucking spin and just start fucking, because it's inside of him. But there's that like freedom to be like ourselves, and giving up. The more we walk through that and we give ourselves permission to authentically be, the easier it becomes. So
speaking to that, my spiritual teacher challenged me recently to wake up every morning and just ecstatically dance. And I've been doing it with my children. Like just dancing around the house, blasting fucking music, just enjoy yourself. I would highly advise anybody, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, check it out. Try it. Like let go. It's a letting go. It's a letting go process. You know what I mean? It literally is just like, why don't we experience as much joy as we can to start this day off? And it's available to everybody. We just have been taught to not do that.
Exactly.
Right?
This whole time, like, yo, I need to be successful. I need to do the music because I got to work a job. I got to get this degree, and then I have to work every day to make my pay. And then it's just like, that's just like, it's not helping me. And the more I let go, and the more success you get when you just give up success. So
well, once you redefine what success is, so that's where I had it fucked up for a long time. My definition for success was completely different than when I actually began a process of like internal work and all this stuff. My definition for success changed, right? Because I can never see myself now. And it's funny, I was just talking to my wife's brother, because he was like, he hates his job. And then he wants to do something meaningful, and he's not in recovery. He's like, I want an opportunity to work for you. And I'm like, dude, that's not why you should be calling me. You should be calling me because you want to start a business doing something that you love. You don't want to leave that job, then come work for me, and then decide that this ain't your path either. You need to start tapping in. What do you love? Like, well, I don't have money. And I'm like, money's the easiest shit. The hardest shit is like going within and figuring out what is it that I want to do? Like, what is my purpose? You know, and like I had this whole conversation with them. I'm like, you don't want to be an employee, you know, like you like find what you love to do and like and chase that. Like it, like especially in today's world, like I could never picture myself conforming to just that whole, like, think of like when we were younger, everybody's like, you just get a job, you work hard, you take care of your family, take care of your own, you just shut the fuck. That was like what I was doing my first 4 years clean. I was in the fucking roofers union every day, breaking my balls. I'm such a bitch, dude. I don't like getting dirty. I hate construction. I don't like roofing. And I did it every day because it had benefits and it had 401k and I had health insurance, and because I had no education, no nothing. And I just thought like, this is a good job. Society says I should keep it, and I'm not going to be able to get anything better. When deep inside, I was like, I want to be a dancer. You know what I mean? And I can, and it sounds so crazy, you know, because like when I was younger, it's like dancing's for girls. You know what I mean? Dancing, like, oh, you want to be a dancer? You know, and like for me, it was the coolest, most masculine shit I had ever seen when I watched it. When I went into a rehearsal when I was like 16 years old, I seen all these dudes doing capoeira, breaking, popping, all this fucking aggressive shit, dancing to hip hop. Like it woke something up inside of my soul. You know?
Yeah, well, and that's the beautiful thing. I remember when you opened the first studio, and I used to see you guys, and I used to get emotional at the shows because you're giving kids permission to authentically be themselves and let go. And it was so fucking beautiful. And that's how we ended up starting treatment. Cause I said, I want to invest in you. Like I want, you know what I mean? I remember the conversation where it was like, when the opportunity presents itself, I want to invest in that because I believe in that, you know? And I obviously love to dance, but I couldn't be a dance instructor, but just allowing people to authentically be themselves, which is what we do in treatment today too. You know what I mean? That's like one of the goals of our treatment center is to allow people to authentically be themselves. But this world, when we're authentically being ourselves, all the labels of who we are, drug addict, whatever else, you know what I mean? They fall to the wayside, and it doesn't matter. When you're sitting in a personal development workshop, everybody's the same. Yeah, you know what I mean? We all have our darknesses, we all have our weaknesses, but it doesn't matter. It's like fundamentally, we're all trying to kind of learn how to authentically be yourself, just like you were talking about your sister's brother.
We're all in recovery.
We're all in recovery.
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
100%, dude. Yeah.
Well, that's where
we're all in recovery.
He's in that moment where he's having he's having that moment of clarity, right? He's 20 years old. It's his moment of clarity. And he wants to have a spiritual way. He's looking for something. It's like a spiritual, I always call it like when I feel a sense of uncomfortability or like all this, it's like my spirit's calling out for something. And so it's my job to get in touch with what is it? You know, I used to always live in a place of neglect where I just try to suppress that and not trust in it, right? Because it's always trying to tell us something. And it's like our job as humans on this earth is to figure out what are we being called to, right? Sometimes we use that as vessels for people, and sometimes we use that whatever it is, but we just got to be open and receptive to what is. And it takes obviously some work. And listen, if you're watching this podcast and you're early in recovery, we probably sound like fucking, this is like chapter 36 of like the fucking, of the
is it though? I don't.
Yes, Justin, it is, dude. The dude's shaking that just came off a fucking fentanyl run, and we're talking about like this stuff is.
Yeah, but the dude's shaking. I agree with you to a certain extent, but the dude's shaking.
Took you 19 years to get to this point.
Well, I'm a fucking bitch. All right?
No.
I was deep into the constructs. It didn't take Nick's fucking 19 years.
It affects everyone differently. Bottom
this
line,
mic sucks.
everyone's self-improvement is different.
Yeah, you
Let's
can
be honest.
introduce these concepts sooner than we do.
Yeah.
I
in
agree,
recovery.
absolutely.
that's my
But no
thing.
matter what, the shadow work and the trauma release takes time. So like, you can't just be like intellectually like, yo, I'm just gonna dance when I get to that wedding next time because the trauma hits, the triggers hit.
Yes. Yeah.
We can't
Yeah, yeah.
control the triggers. So
Yeah.
No.
there's literally like a level and an amount of triggers that people have stored in them, like
That we have to work on.
under,
I
like,
gotcha.
unwind through our
Yeah.
recovery process. But like, so both of you guys are right because we can introduce that stuff earlier to be faster and accelerate
Absolutely.
the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what-
All right,
Well,
so
Libra, moon and Libra
Dichotomy.
energy, so I got to bring that.
I'll take a
balance,
tie.
you know?
I'm
tie,
fine with a tie. We're cool with a tie.
Yeah,
So let's get into I want to get into the astrological world because that
Yes.
shit's fucking dope, right? So obviously Aquarius, my man Justin, we're Aquarians. I heard you. I didn't even know if that was a real term because I say Aquarians all the time.
Absolutely is a term.
Yeah,
All right,
no,
cool.
100%.
Can we get a little
We're
read
entering
on
the
us?
Aquarian age. Yeah, I mean,
Dude, Age of Aquarius, rising of human consciousness. Fucking get with it.
yes.
So they're both Aquarius,
Legit.
and I'm a Pisces.
You just got to turn your
Yes.
mic.
Yeah,
So
what the
I-
hell's going on with
It's
this
a
fucking
side
thing?
mic. Learn how to use it. There you go.
This?
Yeah.
Oh,
Whoa.
holy
Holy
shit.
shit. Yeah.
There I am.
Hey, this is also episode 25, dude.
How do you
Yeah,
use this mic?
usually I don't sit in the corner. I don't know what the fuck happened
I
over
was just
here.
glad I got to switch seats.
No, yeah,
Yeah, that's
you
why I was
got
a
you
little-
got the good ones. So let's get into the how did you get into astrology first and foremost, and then let's go down this road because I love it, and my mother's gonna fucking love this shit too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was totally a skeptic, atheist person my whole life, pretty much. Just denied God and denied the universe when I was like 6 years old because I was like, yo, you can't be Christians and Muslims saying there's a God and they're killing each other. Nope, I'm not doing that. It just didn't make sense to me. So I was like, nope. This is stupid. I made fun of people that were Christian, things I really regret now. But yeah, doing drugs actually, and doing even hallucinogenics in Vermont and stuff when I was in my ripping and running, some of that stuff actually opened me up to some different perspectives, and I started to kind of feel energy around me, and I started to just have some experiences that expanded my consciousness, and then I kind of started getting into spirituality. Still was a skeptic, but then when I went to my first rehab, a friend of mine had given me an astrology book very serendipitously, and I started reading that book. I read about Gemini, and I really related to that description, and I was like, okay, that's really weird. I really relate to Gemini. Let me say, John, do you relate to this, Pisces? I would read that, and I was like, that kind of makes, and I just started testing it, and then I started to realize, like, some people were like, well, I kind of relate, but I don't totally relate, and then I was like, oh, but you also have a moon sign, and you have this Mercury sign, and you have this Mars, Venus, you have all these other signs. Let's look at this, and they mean different things. So once we start to go more into it, we start to find, wow, this actually makes sense. So it's not these things you're when people hear astrology, just like people may hear dancing and think a certain thing,
Yep.
even though dancing is just as old as humans. I mean, it's so natural. And astrology is also as old as humans because as the first form of astrology is shamanic astrology. That was just people connecting to the essence and spirit of the planets. And if you look at all the different cultures, they all had a primitive form of astrology, and they all came up with the same and similar meanings for each planet. So you want to talk about double-blind study? I mean, that's a double-blind study right there, empirical data. But
Yeah, I'm trying to find my wife sends me my these things because she's like, you're so true to your sign. Like she always sends me these Aquarius
Horoscopes.
things. Yeah, just write ups on like you were saying, like collectors.
Well, Nick does whole makeups of who you are. The shit's dope. I've done it with him.
that's what I was gonna say. I do something called cosmic empowerment. That's my business. That's like my normal day job, and I use astrology as a backdrop. But I want people to find their purpose. Like the person you were just talking about. Was that your cousin? You said.
My wife's brother. Yeah.
Your wife's brother. Okay. Yeah. Like, so I would get his astrology chart and help him tap into himself and
that's
his
dope.
soul.
Yeah.
His soul essence, and it shows you what you signed up for, basically.
Really powerful.
Can we tag Eric Farrell, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I truly believe in that, and I believe that there is references and there is because I do believe we're all here. We're here for a purpose, right? And your goal in life should be in pursuit of finding out path and purpose, meaning, right? And like constantly in pursuit and understand that things shift, right? Because I know that part of my path was the dancing. And then I knew when the dancing time was up. I knew when it was time for me to, and I remember the moment when it happened, right? And I've talked about it on this podcast before, but we had the studio in Peabody, Mass, and it was successful. And we had all these kids there, and I was loving it. And then I heard these people in the hallway talking about these adult women talking about how there was a methadone clinic opening up in Saugus, and they didn't want these junkies in the neighborhood. And they were just like, I just heard them bashing, and they're doing it in front of me because they don't know who I really am. You know what I mean? They're paying tons of money, and they kiss my fucking ass every time they see me, and they're asking me to do privates with their kids and all this shit, and they're just shitting on addicts and stuff like that because they've stigmatized it. And I can't even judge them because it's just a perception of like how the media portrays it and because it's just been stigmatized for so long. And it was like, when I talk about that intuition, I felt something shift internally. Like I knew I had another calling. I wasn't quite sure what it was. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to do something, which eventually led into conversations, dialogue. I was in search for like, what is this new feeling that I'm feeling? What am I doing with this? Do I want to do a sober house, or is it going to be what kind of sober house? Because I don't want to just do a sober house. I want to work with the guys and get connection, because I'm all about connection. My experience in recovery for many years is like when you bring people in like this into groups, and they have that sense of community, and they have that sense of like camaraderie, and they have that sense of like family. They flourish within that, right? When people they fall into the outskirts and they don't find like a group or like people that almost can take that place of, because there's family that you have, right? And then there's this family, this type of family, people that know, like I know that you know, and you like, it's just something that I couldn't articulate to somebody else in my immediate family that they would understand, right? How this thing works, how my head talks to me, and the type of like, it just, but I get that in these conversations. I'm able to be completely free in my friendships, like completely free, which I require. I found out that I require that. And I know that I'm not able to be completely free in all elements of my life. It's just not possible. You know, it's actually not probably the healthiest either. I shouldn't be fucking my complete authentic free self in every circumstance or situation. You know what I mean? Because that could be offensive, and I don't need to shine the mirror up to everybody's face and fucking tell them the absolute truth. You know what I mean? Like I have to pick and choose my spots, but I need some place to be free, to be completely free, to be fucking an asshole today, or to be like judgmental today, or to be I need somewhere to combat my fucking insanity so people can help me get to my clarity and my true essence, to get back into that intuitive state, right? So with that whole like pretty much what I was saying is that we have this thing, right? The collective, which is so important. It's that community base, that like friendships and the camaraderie that helps us grow within that. And where the fuck was I going with this? What got me on this tangent?
I don't know, but it was awesome because you're literally describing Aquarius energy. And then I was thinking he's an Aquarius, but he's got a Pisces moon. And that's why Aquarius is like very intellectual. It's a fixed air sign, so it's very intellectual and it can be stubborn, but it's all about progressive change for humanity. But because he has a Pisces moon, he's the one who's like, yo, I'm feeling like archangels and stuff, and he's like really feeling the spiritual reality, but then his Aquarius is like, yo, this is what's going on. But you might have something different. So I was like, if I could see your whole chart, I would be able to see why you two are both Aquarius, but you're expressing differently. And I was also thinking you're a Pisces sun sign, so it's interesting. They're the Aquarius, Pisces. There's just like a cool link between you three.
Yeah. No, it's cool dope. Link. And you guys should check it out because it's dope. It's like, it's so much deeper than people realize. And again, if you just talk about getting in touch with your path and purpose, it's literally what every person's soul desires. And part of what you were talking about was separatism and people feeling separate. And that's what we're recovering from right now. The world is recovering from these egoic views that we've learned to separate and compete with each other. And the age of Aquarius is the rising of human consciousness and recovering from that. That's what we're recovering from.
So I'm wondering why I find that I'm constantly surrounded by like my closest friends throughout my life. And it's crazy because they have personality types. Always been other Aquarius. Aquarians just find, it's like
It's because it's air, and I'm a Gemini.
We're
His friends are
drawn to
Gemini,
each other.
So it's Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius are air signs, and air signs are intellectual and they're communicative. They like to talk. They usually want to be smart. They want to communicate ideas. So you're going to draw each other. You're going to flock to each other. And then fire signs are like, yo, fuck talking, let's do shit. Let's go do stuff. And those are more like athletes and. We all have all the energies, and that's part of what cosmic empowerment coaching is about. But fire and air are the masculine elements because they're doing stuff. And you think about air and fire, explosion, right? So you will also attract. That's how the compatibility thing works. So they're going to say Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra are going to go with Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo because that's the fire and air signs. The water and earth signs. The water signs are emotional and sensitive, and that's going to be Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, and then the earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And earth signs are more practical and down to earth. And earth and water are the feminine signs because they are receiving. Water goes into the earth and grows things, right? Whereas fire and air is just all up here, and so those are the elements, and that's what doesn't go together. Is fire and air don't go with water and earth naturally. But when we bring the fifth element, consciousness, the ether, we see all this and it's like, yo, all this is fine. And you start to be able to be your chart, but you're not controlled by your chart. You're not expressing the negative tendencies of your chart. Or if you are, you accept them. You're surrendering to everything and you just are being your chart. And that's what astrology is really all about for me. It's like, yo, I'm a Gemini, so I'm just going to rap and I'm going to do astrology and I'm going to talk and I'm going to say little insights here and there and that's what I'm going to do. And I have Cancerian energy, tons of water energy, so I'm going to feel and I'm going to hold space for people and I'm going to be empathic and like that's cool, but also like I don't have fire, so I'm going to do these different practices to get my fire up so that I can come and bring the fire when I need to. And I don't have earth, I'm not grounded, so I'm going to make sure that I write a list sometimes or I have some organization in my life because those things are not natural. But like if I can just focus on the elements that I don't have, it allows me to just crush the elements that I'm natural in. And then when I have the fifth element of ether, it's like it just all happens so much more naturally and I tap into that intuition.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it is complex, but it's very simple. It's the same as dancing or rapping. It's like what I just did was very complex, but it was so easy for me because I've been doing it for 10 years and it's the same thing. Astrology is kind of like an intellectual spiritual path in a way.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Just like anything intellectual, like you said, you actually had an argument about this in the beginning, but it's true. Once you learn all that stuff, then you can just surrender, right?
Yeah.
You can't necessarily, because you can't convince somebody like, they're like, yeah, I'm shaking, like I don't know what to do with my life. And you're like, just surrender, my son.
Yeah.
Like he's just gonna be like, okay, and he's gonna try, but he's still gonna just be like, but like he's gonna need that habit, and once he learns it right off the bat, he's like already.
No, I get it. It starts with thought, you know what I mean? But then it takes some action to embody things, you know what I mean? So it's like you think about what you need to do, but then I was talking about today, we went to Deep Breathworks. Deep Breathworks is like a surrendering practice of like surrendering beyond your mind and getting more into your body and your spiritual senses. And like, so you can talk about the shit till you're blue in the face. You know what I mean? You can like theorize about it, but until you do it, you really don't have any experience and you can't embody it. So ultimately it's about the thing that I'm challenging at this point is like you don't need to be 10 years clean to embody some spiritual practices.
No, and I'm not challenging that
like,
either.
It's like let's do it. Let's just do it. Let's just get into it, cuz I see people, for me, I just built up more like thought form constructs and ego walls about myself that stopped me from taking the steps to the surrender. And in my mind, I thought, I know surrender. I worked the steps. I surrendered to drugs and alcohol. And then I sit in like these spiritual retreats with all these people, and I'm sitting there like, I got 22 years of recovery. I'm this fucking spiritual fucking guy. Everybody thinks I'm spiritual. And I was the least spiritual guy in the room. I was the most walled off guy in the room. I was the most scared guy in the room. You know what I mean? Like, I was comfortable as long as I was with people in recovery. But the second you take me out of my little comfort zone, my walls go right back up. And so my surrender process has been deeper now into, and I'm just seeing more people surrendering sooner and getting surrender sooner, and it excites me.
Yeah, no, and I'm all about it. I'm not going against saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that, like, when because someone could hear you talk, right, and that, like, who has no experience, and they want to get to a state of surrender, they're gonna start meditating, and they're gonna start doing deep breath works, and they close their eyes. And I just picture the first time I ever tried to meditate, where I sat with my eyes closed, and the thoughts that came over my head
was scary.
Were fucking intensely dark and scary,
Yep.
and it was and I was at a point where I was attaching truth to thought, right? I didn't have the ability to decipher. I didn't understand the thought function. I didn't understand how this shit operated within me internally. I didn't understand narrative creations. I didn't understand allowing thoughts to just flow, and that it's not who I am, it's where I am in this current moment. I didn't understand, like, the root cause. I didn't have any understanding. So it was just traumatic. For me to sit with my eyes closed was like, fucking if you locked me in a room with the lights out and you just had people yelling obscenities, whatever the fuck that word is, in the room nonstop. Like, you suck, you fucking suck, you piece of shit, you blew it, you never. It's like, if that's what it was like to close my eyes. Only I understood that that's what the disease, that's how that was the disease function for me. That's how my disease controlled me. That my disease took the suppression of all this stuff that's happened, and it weaponized it, and it used it in thought function to control me, and to make me suffer the emotional repercussions of that. Because when I'm suffering the emotional repercussions of that, I become weakened. And when I become weakened, I'm very receptive to laying in a victim mentality and just allowing life to pass me by and not taking chances and settling and stuff like that. Now, when I understand that I have some power and control over that, not controlling thoughts from coming, but understanding thoughts that they don't control me. So learning about how this shit operates within me internally gave me a new insight to what was happening. It's like I tell guys all the time, and I always, like, so let's say I run group, right? And the way that I connect with the clients in there is I'll talk about insane thinking, right? And I'll talk about, like, you are not your thoughts, right? It's not who you are, it's where you are in the current moment. We can't control thoughts. What we can do is not allow them to control us. But I can't even not, because people feel guilty about their thoughts, right? And so that gets them to a place where they're scared to tell the truth. And once you become scared to be honest, this process and path becomes really fucking difficult. So once I realized, like, oh, these are just thoughts, right? Like, for example, I'm walking down I'm in a mall and I'm walking and I see a dude leaning over the railing. I look over and I picture myself flipping him off the railing. Does that mean I'm a serial killer? No, that's just like the first thought that came into my head. Or like someone walking about to hit ice, and I'm like, my first thought is like, hope you fall. But I don't really want them to fall. That's like what happens. Or someone is going slow in the car and I'm driving, and in my head it's like, move, you fucking bitch. It's like, I don't want to have that thought. It's like, and now does that mean I'm like this evil person? No, because I also have good thoughts, and these thoughts just come and go. But I would get into this place where I'd start to believe that these thoughts were who I was. This is who I am. So like when if I was like in a relationship and I saw a girl and I'm like, oh, she's pretty, and then the next thought is like, you're a cheat. You're no good. You'll never be able to be fucking monogamous or all this stuff. Or I was sitting in a room and Justin bought a new car, and then I had a thought was like, damn, I wish I had a car. So now am I like fucking, oh, you're not a good friend, you're not happy? It's like, no, because I'm also proud. I also have good thoughts that follow. I never had the ability to understand what was happening. Once I started to understand how thought functions occurred, and I stopped attaching truth to it, they really, it's like what we resist persists. The more I tried to not try to have bad thoughts and I was judgmental internally, it was like the more fucked up thoughts I would have all the time. And I would suffer the emotional repercussions of that. I didn't understand that was the disease's strongest power against me, right? So that kept me in a place of constant suppression of truth.
So I agree with everything that you say. All I'm saying is that we've built, like, part of the control constructs is that meditation is hard. It's like built into us. Meditation is hard. If I told you I was going to pay you $10,000 a fucking day to meditate for an hour, all of a sudden meditation becomes fucking way easier. It's a barrier we've created in our minds. And you can fucking run around in your fucking mind as long as you want to. Meditation is not going to get any easier until you fucking start doing it. That's my experience. So like, I'm just encouraging people fucking jump into the ship, because for me, like, I wasn't able to follow my fucking heart. I started meditating at 15 years clean because I ran around in my head and got everything that my head told me to for 15 years. And I got everything and I was like, what the fuck, dude? What's next? It didn't do it. Like literally, it's been 15 years and I think I am who I am. And then I started following my heart, and here we are 8 years later, my life's drastically changed. But here's Nick. He's got 6 years, and he got there a lot quicker by surrendering quicker to some practices that we can utilize. We've just been painted. And one of the misteachings of meditation is that you're supposed to be completely devoid of thought. I don't believe that personally. I think that's a misteaching. You meditate to get beyond your monkey mind, to get beyond the crazy mind, and then you get in touch with your intuitive mind that will start to give you the guidance of what you're supposed to be doing. Like divine thought will come in, intuition will come in, and you'll start to tap into it. So if you really want to be happy and get in touch with your path and purpose quicker, and you want to be fulfilled, fucking meditate. That's all I'm saying. And meditation doesn't have to be even sitting. It can be basketball, and it can be walking in nature, and it can be a lot of different things. But I'm just like, I just am a diehard at this point. Like, and I'm not saying people don't have, everybody has their own path, but a lot of the times we create barriers for things based on perceptions. And you talked about the control construct and disempowerment of like what's happening in this world. And I deeply believe in that. And I believe that they've almost programmed us to think that these things are stupid and tune them out and you shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? And I just think that everybody is, everybody has a spiritual self right there, ready to get in touch. And you're almost better off in a dark time to just fucking go there. Because if you don't go there in the dark time, it's like the dark night of the soul. Most people who get on a spiritual journey have a dark night of the soul. They have like a darkness that happens to them that gets them on the path to light. And so we're like a prime opportunity when we get clean. We just went through a fucking dark night of the soul. It's a prime opportunity to jump on the spiritual path, but it's very easy to just jump on the path to fixing myself. Let me fix myself. Let me get a car. Let me get some new fucking sneakers.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all.
We have to understand first, though. That's all I'm saying. It's only until we understand the depths to which we suffer can we understand what is required to get us to the light. First is the understanding. You're talking about getting to the light. I'm just saying understand first so that it makes your path go, it's without a lot of resistance, right? Because your lack of understanding fully and completely for a long time kept you away from the light. For the valuable information is the understanding in the beginning. If you had a full understanding of what you understand now, it wouldn't have taken you 19 years.
I agree with you, but understanding doesn't just come from thought. Thought is the first step towards understanding, but experience is truly to understand something. Like, so you have to take I agree with you have to take the thought, but the reason I'm talking about this is to challenge people. Here's the thought. Go fucking do it. Just do it. Just fucking do it. Just try it. Just see what happens. Maybe it's not for you. You know what I mean? Maybe it doesn't work, but like the quicker people can get to it, the quicker they will free themselves. I think that it's just, we have this construct that we have to be in a certain place, be a certain way to go to the spiritual self when it's anything but. It's literally just the nature of who we are. So the more that, I just think early in recovery is a great fucking time to just fucking jump into the fucking surrender and jump into the pool. And if we taught surrender in 12-step recovery a little deeper than just drugs and alcohol, it would go a long way. Because I thought I knew surrender, and through, spiritual workshops and other teachings and reading books that have nothing to do with recovery, they have to do with the spiritual path, which is recovery from self, because that's what we're really recovering from. Even in recovery from addiction, we're recovering from ourselves. Surrender is such an important spiritual principle that needs to be understood deeply, in my experience. So
I want to get to, so you brought your guitar, and I want to get, and you guys are going to do some music. I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm just excited. Anytime there's music on here, I think that's dope. We're actually setting up downstairs. We should have, and we're going to have you come back, but we're going to have a whole music podcast room. So we're going to have live instruments, we want to do like an unplugged type podcast where we're able to have musicians come in, because I have a lot of musician friends, and I have a lot of like people that sing and rap and all this stuff, and I just think the live element is so dope. So we obviously have this room, which is a smaller room, but we're doing one downstairs so we can have like the acoustic set up. We have a piano down there. We're gonna have mics that their own. We'll have like a bigger mixer with more channels and stuff like that. So, but for now, you're gonna have to deal with this little baby space. We're gonna figure out the mic situation. So we're actually gonna take a quick break. Nico will cut this shit. We'll come back and you guys will have fucking guitar in your hand and we'll be ready to rock with a song.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Pardon me, this personality that's part of me is honestly the only person that I ever ought to be. Beyond relief is how it feel. The onion layers that I peel have lit some more that can't reveal. Behind them are bars of steel. I've seen a semblance of a smirk upon your face that resembles a rat that I'ma run about this rampant race. I'm just doing rap so I can speak about important things. Trying to stop me now is like trying to stop a hurricane. The condescending messages you're condescending in my general direction is getting kinda old. My suggestion is to lessen all your false pretenses. I don't need hidden agendas trying to sap my soul, but nothing you could do could ever even have a hold. I'm an alchemist, I'll turn it into gold, and I'll transcend transgressions that'll transpire. Your energetic etiquette eventually expires. The overriding force in all of this is motivation, with a bit of will and a lot of patience. I will tell you up front that this is not a statement. What I'm saying here is a declaration. So what it gonna be, to be and not to be, cause I really wanna see. If you wanna be free, let it out with a scream. What I really wanna see is a crazy mofo trying to follow all streams. I show them what to do, I tell them what I've been and when and get through to them with what I have seen. They gonna find what they should be pursuing it, the doubt, no path, and all to the movement. Check when I record in about a millisecond for the record. I'll recommend that every single sentence be a measure and a testament of every single effort to be effortless and better than a veteran to get it like I do without all these rules. If I get my way, I change all these schools. If I ever get the power, then I'll be a person that'll working on the world's problems every single hour. It's hard to actually hold to ultimatums when you're losing traction in the substratum of creation. Cease all the good and evils, balance if your talent all gripped onto the fulcrum with the talent of a falcon. All I've ever focused on was having concentration. I believe in free will, but I think it's faded. I think a lot, I got a thinking syndrome. It's a weird condition, plus I got some other isms, but that don't mean I've ever been a man of ill repute. And if that's what you're saying, I will just refute. I'm just saying stuff that I wanted y'all to hear. This the illest microphone massacre in years. This the wild weaponry of one MC. Ethyric is the moniker. I send my blessings, I send my regards, and I send my best wishes while I'm stringing all my words into messages. Now we're through, we made it to the end, and I called it bars on bars, and I did not pretend. And if you wanna hear this track another time again, you gon' check SomeBuddies episode 25, my friends. I should not be here. I should be locked up, serving a sentence for multiple years. I should be insane, repeating the same mistakes over and over and over. Miserable, addicted, and hungover. I should be dead and buried. I should be ashes in the wind. I should be gone from this world like so many of my friends. But here I stand, alive and well, as a recovered man with a story to tell. Just one more story. I lost my connection to family and friends. I lost jobs, hobbies, brain cells, and self-respect. I almost lost my life. Well, I basically did. I was physically and mentally and spiritually sick. I was deep in the pain of my poisonous ways. I got caught in the grips of a treacherous game. Lost and alone in a dangerous state. Another dead man walking that no one could save. But like I said, I stand here today as a man in long-term recovery. So if the definition of recover is to obtain what one had lost, did I gain back what my addiction had cost? Yes, I did. And much, much more. But I must stress one point and settle the score. It wasn't easy. It's something I had to work for. It took me 7 rehabs and 4 psych wards. I was broken, I was battered, I was bruised. I was in denial of a lifestyle to need to use. But I ain't going back. I found freedom. The old ways could mean death if I repeat them. But you can find the light faster than me when you shatter the black mass that devours your dreams. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I won't know. Maybe I'll never know. Will we ever know? The steps were already there, laid before my feet. All I had to do was walk up the stairs to a heaven waiting for me. I'm no hero, no guru, just some guy in the right place at the right time who knew and knows that it ain't no merit of mine. It was the grace of the divine. That unexplainable grace restored me to sanity. And because of that, I feel this new energy inside me that I never felt before, this passion for life, this reason for being, this purpose. Sometimes I felt guilty. I've been sad. Sometimes I'm just angry. When I see the drug-related deaths and people locked up, it makes me second guess. How do we get caught in this mess? Why do we get stuck in this mess? And why can't they get what I got? And why can't they find what I found? And where did that hope get all lost? And how can we turn this around? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I won't know. Maybe I'll never know. Will we ever know? And I don't know. Somebody tell me. You tell me why. Somebody tell me. Picking apart the pieces of the people I see. These opiates cloaking kids from their true ID. The IVs turning hometown heroes to fiends. And I seen a whole scene straight struggling to breathe. Fentanyl will get you to fall faster than you can speak. I seen it all, people that crawl on their hands and knees for a fix that they think that they actually need. They will sell their own bodies for the tiniest piece. They will steal from their mothers to come up with the means. They'll beat you to your bloody to get what they need. And I seen people doing this from good families. So don't sit there and tell me that it's not a disease. Arguments over words is a lot of nonsense. When the people arguing ain't even been where I've been. When we argue we avoid what the real problem is. All these words don't gotta cause all this conflict. Substance use disorder, or SUD, is terminology that's identifiable to me. I also got no problem with saying to peeps that I'm a person in long-term recovery. But I use the word addict cause it reminds me if I ever use again, I know where I'll be. I use the word disease, but it don't define me. When I live in the solution, I'm happy, joyous, and free. And I won't fall. Somebody's got me. You tell me why. Somebody tell me. Tell me why. Tell me why. Antics of arguing these semantics causing a lot of damage. I think I know what the answer is. Surrender to the moment, admit that you're powerless, and then relinquish all opponents. With this is no cowardice. The bravest of components beginning your vital quest is believing in a power that's bigger than your own head. Believing in relying is totally different. Intellectual acceptance is not surrendering. The next part of the 12 is to delve inside of yourself and to say the hell with the cells that no longer help with your health. Sharing that is scary but very extraordinary. When you recognize the secrets are actually ordinary. Willingness to growth, improvement upon your person is the quality, control, that urge to keep on learning. When achievement demands apology is insufficient. It's the altering of action that really will make the difference. Continue on the path and cultivate your connection to the conscious understanding of higher power conception. Embodiment of principles pertinent to the purpose of lifting of the people must percolate through your person. When will you change what you thought you knew? How can we change what it made us do? What it put us through. Now go help another human, cause their pain you can lessen. Switch your selfishness into selflessness and go carry a message. You finish with this process and you will rise from the ashes like phoenixes. If you get through the nonsense, you'll fully embrace what freedom is. And I know it's a lot of work, but let me ask you one thing. How much is your life worth? Think Think about it. It ain't just the opiates causing the breach. Alcohol is a poison you don't buy in the streets. It's turning cars into weapons every day of the week. And now death by cirrhosis every year has increased. Adderall is illegal from a prescribed speed, like Ritalin given to kids too hard to teach. I was told daily to take 80 mgs, and trust me, there was nothing in that pill I need. Let's do some analogies. Crystal methods to Adderall is cocaine to Ritalin. Valium to alcohol is oxy to heroin. If you don't believe me, go look online. Check the chemical structure against the other and you'll find they're eerily similar, and it's really kind of crazy that we're giving this to kids without knowing this information. And at 10 or 6, they prescribed heroin to patients, and we call it a street drug and say junkies take it. Oxy's the same thing as time that we face it, because we're getting really sneaky with these bottles and labels. No matter where you stand or what you believe, we all affected, even if you're saying it's not me. The collective is connected on a level unseen, and we're closer to addiction than we even can see. Food addiction, porn addiction, codependency can be deadly as the drugs when used excessively. Lack of love, connection, and of empathy is at the root of all addictive tendency. Now I ain't saying everybody needs to be like me and stay drug free and 100% clean. There's gray area with everything that I speak, and we all must choose what we believe. When will you change what you thought you knew? How can we change what it made us do? What it put us through? This sickness, it's spiritual in nature. It's widespread and prevalent in our culture. And the cure for this sickness is recovery, which comes in many forms. The pathways that I took to sustain my recovery are practicing spiritual principles, meditating daily, doing breath work. You know what I'm saying? There's more than just the 12 steps. Connecting with amazing people, connecting with awesome, amazing, uplifting friends every single day. Find your path. Our global community needs to stop with this intellectual and ideological warfare that keeps us disconnected from our hearts, and start working together to cure the affliction that's tearing our communities apart. Now let fellowship surround when you're feeling down. Let somebody help you out. Don't drift away and drown. We love you. Thank you.